I'm about to rank every single item in Chapter 2 Remix from actually useless all the way up to God item, with a few in between. Alright, first up we got our basic normal assault rifle. Everyone loves it. It's simple, grade of blue, perfect. We're gonna chuck it in practical because it's all around just balanced. It's not broken. It's perfect. Alright, next up we got the Scar. Now, I'm tempted to put this in God item, but it's not actually like that good. But the history of having it in the game, like getting gold Scar out of the chest and just that whole feeling just makes me want to put it in really good. Now in Chapter 1, the weapon would be God item, but for this season, we're going to chuck it in really good. Alright, next up we got the Suppressed Scar. Now this thing, I don't know where to put it, because sometimes you just beam kids and you just 200 to 0 them in a second. But other times, you just don't hit a shot because the bloom is really, really bad. So, we'll chuck it in meh, but I might change that later. But we'll see, because sometimes you can get it to work, but yeah, we'll leave it there. Alright, the Tactical Assault Rifle. Now, this gun is actually really good, and I'm going to put this in the God item tier. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen, but this season, there is no bloom whatsoever. It's like the old Thunderburst SMG, where you could just hold it down, and that laser it just beams. Like, you don't have to... It is really good. Now, I'm not sure if the gun's actually meant to be like that, but that's how it works. So, because of that, I'm going to leave it in God item. It is absolutely broken, and yeah, really good gun. Alright, next up we got the FAMAS, the greater blue one. Now, this one is off-spawn viable. I mean, carrying this one to the mid to late game's kind of an L. It's not really that good, so I think we're just gonna chuck it in off-spawn viable, I reckon. Alright, next up we got the normal AK, the greater blue one. Now, this one's actually pretty good. I'm gonna chuck it in practical because I don't know if it's better than this. Now, by the way, these are going to be in an order. So, like, whatever's at the front here will be the best for that tier. The AK, see, because, like, the bloom, just the way it works. I think we're going to chuck it in practical right here. But this one is actually really, really good. So, we're going to put this one right next to the Scar. Now, I'm contemplating putting it in front of it. But I think just because of the history of the Scar and because everyone loves the Scar, we're just going to leave it there. Next up, we got the Scope DR, the green to blue one, I think it is. This one's actually pretty mid, like it's a meh item. But in competitive this season, I know it was really like a must-hold for trading Surge. So because of that, I'm going to put it in really good. Along with this one. This one was even better because it just does more damage. But if it wasn't used for that, I'd probably put it in the off-spawn viable to meh. It doesn't really have a purpose otherwise, but because of the trading Surge thing in competitive, we're going to chuck it at really good. Alright, next up we got the pump shotgun, the gray to blue pump shotgun. The feeling of getting a blue pump at the start of a game is just absolutely amazing. You can't take that feeling away. So, you know what? Because of that, we're going to chuck it in really good. Now we got the Spaz. The Spaz was the only gun, and I think the first gun, actually, to ever do 200 damage. So because of that, we're going to chuck it in God item. It's not necessarily broken because it doesn't do 200 damage now. But it's definitely a really, really good item. And if you can find one of these, it's just one of the best feelings ever. Alright, next up we got the Charge Shotgun. Now this one's a bit interesting because it's kind of like the Suppressed Scar where you just either charge it up, 150, bang, just out of the game, you kill someone. Or you charge it up and you hit 30. So, it's really just a weird balance of just how this gun works. I don't think it's that good, but we'll chuck it in practical, I guess, just for now, and we might change that later. Now, the purple to gold one's actually a little bit better, so I think we're going to bump that to, like, there. Yeah, I think that's what we'll do for that. Alright, now we got the greater blue tac shotgun. This one's actually kind of good, but not super. Like, that one's pretty good, but the gold tac is nuts. This one does some damage. Like, the structure damage on this shotgun is absolutely disgusting. So because of that, I'm gonna move this to here, and I think the way I'm gonna have these will be something like that. Yeah. Alright, next up we got the submachine gun, the normal SMG. This one's actually pretty good. In old chapter 2, it was better because of just the amount of damage with the headshot multiplier, but now that's 1.5, does less. But it's still pretty good. I don't really see anyone holding it, to be honest. It's kind of an off-spawn viable weapon. It's about here, but you don't really see anyone holding it. So because of that, I'm going to chuck it in off-spawn viable. Along with the rapid fire SMG, the gold one, if you get in the face, if you're controller, you just beam kids just out of the game when you're in their face. But you don't really see anyone holding it. So because you have to get a high rarity, I'm going to chuck it in meh, because it's not that hot. P90 though. P90 though. Oh, okay. P90 is actually pretty good. Yeah, I think it's at the back of practical, borderline meh, but pretty good. Like, it's still pretty good. The suppressed SMG does more damage actually than the P90 does, but the fire rate is a lot less, and you never really see anyone holding them either. So we're gonna leave that there. All right, next up we got the drum gun. The drum gun is pretty meh. You won't see anyone holding it unless it's the mythic one, so I'm gonna chuck it in off spawn viable. You might be able to get someone to work off spawn. Really don't want to be carrying it in the mid game. Not really got any range on it, so we're just gonna chuck it in off spawn viable. Yeah, that sounds good. All right, next up we got the minigun. Now this bad boy is absolutely broken, just destruction everywhere. Now this isn't even the mythic one. The mythic one's down here. So for the purple one being god item, you already know where I'm going to chuck this one later on. But the minigun, yep, 100% needs to be nerfed. Alright, next up we got the Midas's, sorry, not Midas, Snoop Dogg's drum gun. My bad. And this one's actually pretty good. At the start of the season, when it was the only mythic in the game, this thing was at top of broken god item. It was amazing. Now with the other mythics, I'd say it's still pretty good, but not god item. Like it's good, but I reckon that's at the top of really good. Like it's not god item though. Alright, next up we got the mythic charge. Now this shotgun is actually really good. Now it's not the damage and everything that makes it that. It is in fact though the only shotgun that can deal 200 damage, 205. So because of that, I'm going to chuck it in really good. But that's not the only thing that makes this thing, like, really, really good. When you shoot someone, it actually marks them for 20 or 30 seconds, something like that. So because of that, I'm going to chuck it in really good. Borderline god item, but I think we're going to chuck it at the top of really good. You know what? Let's put it in god item. It's the only weapon in the game, other than snipers, that can 200 pump. So, because of that, it's in god item. Now, do I even have to say where this one goes? Yep, useless. No one picks it up. Everyone hates it. Nah, I'm just kidding. Top of god item. This is amazing. Everyone loves the shockwave launcher. Just get around the map. Quick mobility. 18 rockets. Just absolutely amazing. If you're playing a team game mode, you got them to hold your rockets as well. It's just perfect. Now, thankfully, this isn't in competitive, because otherwise that would be an absolute mess. But for pubs and ranked, that is really good. Alright, next up we got the Meowdus AK. Now this gun is actually mad. This one's really good. I'm gonna chuck it in really good. You know what, in front of that I think that is better than the drum gun, especially because of like the headshot multiplier 1.5. I think it does 68. So you're gonna be damaging kids for so much, especially if you've got this bad boy right here. Now, the Ice Spice gun is really, really, really good, and I would say god item. Ahead of this, and ahead of this, yep, like that. I think this is how we're gonna have to have these. These are just the best. This Ice Spice weapon gives you the chili effect when you shoot someone, so that makes it good. And then it comes with a grappler as well. Like if you go on Ice Spice, you get mobility. You get one of the best ARs, like. We're just going to skip this one, chuck this straight into god item. It is best mobility apart from this. Yeah, just really good. Sometimes this can be annoying. You can kill yourself to full damage, which I've done multiple times. But you know what? I think this one is, these two have to be next to each other, 100%. Now, I didn't skip over this one, but we'll come back to it now. The Juice WRLD Chug Cannon. This is actually really good. The super balance takes up 2 slots. 15 HP every 20 seconds on the recharge. One of the most balanced healing items I think we've ever had in Fortnite ever. So because of that, I'm going to put it at the top of really good. I wouldn't say it's broken. Maybe for competitive, like Trade Cash Cup Finals, it's broken. And like, I still wouldn't say that it's broken, but it's definitely really good. So because of that, we're going to put it at the top of really good. Alright, next up, Eminem's minigun. Top of S tier. This gun is probably the most broken gun we've ever seen in Fortnite's history. This gun needs to be nerfed, and it's not even a joke. If you're fighting someone who's decent with this minigun, even if they're not even that good, you just hold down left click. If you're on controller, you just hold down your trigger. Aim assist does it all for you. You just gotta aim at them, bleed through their builds, and if you're fighting a minigun person, there's not really much you can do. It's pretty much a GG's from that. So because of that, top of broken, absolutely amazing, but definitely needs a nerf, boys. Come on. Alright, next up we got the Kaboom Bow. Now this thing at the start of the season was actually kind of decent, but now you never really see anyone landing the rig because there's just other mythics that are way better. So because of that, I'm going to chuck it in practical. Alright, next up we got the normal greater blue pistol. Now this thing's like not that good. I think we're going to chuck it at off spawn viable. It's kind of useless, but there is like a few things you can do with this thing. Like if you pick it up off spawn, you might be able to get yourself a kill. So I'm going to chuck it in off spawn viable. And next up, we got the dual pistols. Now, I don't actually remember if these things were in Chapter 2 Remix. I'm pretty sure they were, but I'm not 100% sure. If they were, I don't remember using them, but from memory on how they worked, they weren't very good. They came in purple to blue. They weren't really that good. They did do a lot of damage to structures, and it was cool when you hit that double 44. And that was kind of like a cool thing. But again, off spawn viable, probably around here. So yeah. Now this thing, this pistol right here, for trios especially, competitive trios, this thing is a beast. And I'm chucking this in really good. Probably behind, like right there. This pistol, nuts damage. 56, which is more than the gold scar does right now. So this gun is a must pick up. If you find it in gold, 100% amazing gun. Love that one. Alright, next up we got the Legacy Hand Cannon. Now this gun needs to be hit scan, and I'm so happy that they did do this, because when it came out in Chapter 2, it wasn't hit scan, and it kind of ruined the gun. But now that it is in hit scan mode, it is amazing. Now, I don't know how good it actually is, but it's really, really fun to use, and I think we can all agree on that. So because of that, I'm going to chuck it in really good. Definitely really good gun. Hit that 156 headshot with a gold one. Just all-round solid fun gun. Alright, next up we got the Blue Bolt. The Greater Blue Bolt. This one is interesting because with the bullet travel time being different compared to Chapter 5 snipers, it's really easy to hit your headshots. So I'm going to put it in practical to really good. The thing is, with a sniper, it's a one-shot headshot. So they're both the same, but you rarely find this one. So I'm just going to put them next to each other for now. Now, the semi-auto sniper doesn't even do 200 damage. It's not that good. Competitive-wise, it's pretty decent for trading Surge. Get that big, like, 100 damage, 195 if you hit the headshot. So I'm just going to chuck it in meh. It's nothing special. But the hunting rifle, everyone loves the hunting rifle. That's for certain. So because of this, the blue hunting rifle was just amazing. Just so fun to use. No scopes everywhere. I'm going to put it in really good, I think. I should have a really fun category, but you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm just going to chuck it in really good for now. Now, this one, the purple to gold one, with that bloom is just so small where you can hit a no-scope from so far away and it will hit. Like, this gun just, it's not broken, but it's really, really fun. Just amazing. Yeah, love that one. So, yeah, god item. Alright, next up we got the Heavy Sniper. Now, this guy is interesting because he doesn't do max damage to builds like he used to. He does fully break wood walls, but half built brick, and then does barely any damage to metal. 126, this thing has been nerfed so much since actual Chapter 2 when it used to do 150 and then one-shot wood, brick, and metal walls. So It wasn't in competitive, and I'm kind of grateful for that. But you don't really see anyone carrying it. Yeah, practical, I get. It's meh, but borderline. Like, we'll just leave it there for now. Alright, next up we got the rocket launcher. Now, the green one is actually, like, off-spawn viable type stuff. Almost useless. You shoot that thing 85 damage, not even 100, and then the reload on the green RPG, it takes so long, like, but the purple to gold one is nuts. This one is amazing. Like, you need to be holding this if you're in any sort of competitive. So, I reckon we're going to place this somewhere around here, I reckon. Yeah, I reckon that's good. Now, the grenade launcher. I've only seen this thing one time in Chapter 2 Remix, and I have to say, it is absolutely broken. 1000%. You shoot that thing at a box, you just keep boom, boom, boom. And they can't do anything. It just blows all their builds up. And they can't do anything. So, for that reason, it's God item. Alright, next up we got the harpoon. Now, this thing is actually really, really fun. I really, really like a harpoon gun. You just get your fish, get your loot from the fishing holes. It can help you in stacked games. This thing, really good. I was gonna say God item because no one really hates this thing. Yeah, you know what? Let's put it in God item because everyone loves it. So because of that, we're gonna chuck it in God item. Alright, next up, we got the Mythic Flopper. Now, this thing is actually in Chapter 2 Remix. If you found this in Chapter 2 Remix, buy a lottery ticket. I guarantee you'll win. This thing is so rare. It's like 1 in a million. But I really like the idea of it. Of just, you know, 200 damage, just bop, they're dead. Nothing they can do about it. But it is extremely, extremely rare. So because of that, we're going to chuck it in. We'll chuck it at the top of practical. Because you still got to hit your shots and people can just build. And because of that, top of practical. Alright, next up, we got the normal grappler. Now this season, you've got 20 grapples. 20! So that is just absolutely amazing. You need mobility this season. Shockwaves aren't in competitive. Oh, actually, no, they are, but they're really hard to find. So, because of that, we're going to chuck this in God item. About there. I think that works for us right there. That's perfect. Alright, next up, we got the Porta Fort. Now, this thing is actually useless. Like, this thing is actually useless. You never see it. Now, there is actually one thing that I am forgetting, and that's the Porta Fortress. This thing, the Porta Fortress is actually practical because in competitive games, you can chuck that on a hill, get yourself a massive surge base, nothing people can do about it. But this Porta Fort is definitely useless. In zero build, it's actually pretty good. You can use it as cover, but I don't play zero build, so I'm going to chuck it in actually useless because that doesn't really do anything for me, that item, because I don't play that game mode. Alright, next up, we got the bandages. Now, this season was very, very hard to find heals. Especially if you remember at the start, you could not find heals to save your life. So because of that, we're going to put them in here. Along with the medkits. Now, the medkits are... I'm going to have to put them in God item because you need yourself medkits. Having 3 medkits and 3 bigs is probably the best thing you can have for heals minus slurpfish this season. So I'm going to say really good. You need it for heal off. 100 health over time. You can move with it. So yeah, really, really good. Floppers though, on the other hand, really good as well. Everyone loves a flopper. 40 HP in 1 second, just like that. It's nothing bad about it. So because of that, it's a God item as well, 100%. Alright, next up we got the small fry. Now these guys you don't really see anyone holding them. You get them out of those like little freezer things around the map. You get them from fishing on just like no fishing holes. 25 health or 15 health. I don't remember how much it is. They're okay. People used to use them back in Chapter 2 to like heal in Storm. But you never really see anyone using them. I'm going to chuck them in off-spawn viable. Maybe. You can sometimes get it to work, but not really, I guess. Alright, next up we got the Bandage Bazooka. Now this thing, at the start of the season, was only in for like a couple days. It was pretty good. Not as good as the Slurp Juice one over here, but it was pretty good. I'm going to chuck it at the top of practical. Yeah. Alright, next up we've got the pad. Now, the pad is interesting. This is the one that goes in your trap slot. So, I'm going to have to put this in probably God item or really good. I'm going to put the back just because it doesn't take up an inventory slot. But the one counter to it is if you pad wrong, you're going to get fried out the sky and dead. And it ruins your whole game. So, because of that, really good. Alright, next up we got the Throwable launch pad. Now, this is the one that takes up your item slot. So, this one is actually is pretty good. You get it out of supply drops. If you're playing like a pub game, you just throw it down. You get the quick mobility to wherever you need to be. But in stacked like competitive games, this one's actually pretty good. If you don't get lucky with finding yourself a grappler, this is actually really, really good. Alright, next up we got the bouncers. Now I'm going to put these right next to the launch pad because once again, they don't take up an inventory slot. I don't think anyone in the Fortnite history has said, yeah man, I hate bouncers, you know, like take them out of the game. So yeah, love that one. Alright, next up we got the shockwaves. Now this thing is like a staple from the game. These things are so rare to find though. You can never really find them. That's why the shockwave launcher is just so much superior compared to this. But the shockwaves itself are just really fun. Really good in zero build. Great mobility all round. Good trick shots. I think everyone can agree that this thing is really good. And I'd probably have to say at the here. I'm not even joking. I think that's where this goes. Alright, now we've got the normal crash pads, those big blue ones. Now, these ones are really, really hard to find. You can only get them out of supply drops, I'm pretty sure, on floor spawns. They come in a stack of 1. I'm just going to chuck it in actually useless. It doesn't really help you. It's not. You don't even use it in off spawn. So, carrying this to the mid game would be useless. So, because of that, actually useless. Alright, next up we got the minis. Everyone loves a mini. No one's going to complain about a mini. So because of that, it's really good. Not quite as good as the big shields though. Big shields is god item 100%. Along with slurp fish. Everyone loves a slurp fish. You just go straight up. 40 health, 40 shield, whatever it needs to be. That's really good. But also big pots, yeah. Just everyone, I think everyone can agree these 4 heals are probably the best heals we've ever seen in Fortnite. Maybe not as good as chug splashes or the mythic slurp, which actually isn't on this list. But if I did have to put it somewhere, I would definitely put it at the top of god item. Not for heals, not here, but like somewhere right here in front of the medkits. Alright, next up we got the spicy fish. Now these things are, again, they're a meh, but practical. Like, you can use them in competitive to get a rotate if you don't have a grappler or bouncers or a pad. So because of that, they're actually kind of decent. Plus, just, you go fast. Everyone loves going fast. You eat a spicy fish, you got like a minute of just absolutely quick movement. So because of that, I'm going to chuck it in practical. I think everyone can agree on that, right? Alright, impulses. Now, these bad boys were only in the season for the first couple of days. And I have to say, they didn't really make an impact. I thought they were actually useless. They're probably the most, like, the best in this tier, but they're still useless. Now, right next to it is the grenades. These things are terrible. Holding them is absolutely useless. You're not going to get anything out of it. Barely any structure damage. Does 40 damage to players. Just no one's loving this thing. As soon as it got nerfed, everyone just stopped holding them. They were actually pretty good when they used to do 100 damage, and not pretty good. They were actually like god item, but they are definitely useless now. Alright, proximity mines. These things, again, actually useless. I mean, kind of, you could get it to work in off spawn viable, maybe. Like, they mark people when they hit them, but yeah, actually useless. You won't see these in competitive. They were only in Chapter 2 Remix for a little bit of time, so you didn't really have much time to use them. And when they were in, I don't think I picked them up once. So yeah, I'm just going to leave them in actually useless. Alright, next up we got the clingers, which are actually in competitive, but 6 clingers on your box, you're in trouble. So because of that, I'm going to put them in really good. I think everyone can agree on that. No, I'm gonna put it in practical, probably around here, actually, because they take up an inventory slot, and I would probably rather have heals over the clingers. Alright, next up we got C4. Now this thing, once again, even in pubs, pretty useless. I mean, it was cool for memes, but this thing, off spawn viable to meh. I'd probably put it in meh just because of the history of it being cool. Alright, now we got the gas can. Actually useless. Alright, next up we got the stink bomb. Oh my god. This thing is broken. Actually broken. You crack someone's shield, they box up, you throw a stink on their box, it is absolutely broken. Now, because of that, I'm going to put this at the top right here next to the grappler. This thing is absolutely amazing, and I'm so happy that it's not in competitive, because God help us all if this was in competitive. You just throw it on someone's top and they're absolutely cooked. Alright, next up we got the double G boogie bomb. It's off spawn viable. But it's also practical because it can get yourself a kill when you're shambles. You just boogie someone, box them up, 200 pump them. But you can also boogie yourself. So I'm going to chuck it in meh at the top of meh. Alright, next up we got the rusty can. Now this thing is actually, no, I'm just kidding. That is useless. Okay, yeah, moving on. Fishing rod. This thing in competitive is actually really, yeah, the fishing rod off-spawn viable. You might be able to get yourself some good mats or if you're shambles, but other than that, I don't really see it being too useful of an item. Alright, next up we got the damage trap. Now these things were only in the game at the start of the season. I don't think they're in the game anymore. And they weren't too good because they weren't in long enough to be good enough to be something that people were going to be using a bunch because you couldn't find them. But once again, they take up a trap slot, so it's not something you're going to like trade your shields for to pick up. I might change that later, but I think meh suits its position pretty well. Alright, next up we got the campfires. Now there's two types of campfires in the game. There's one that goes in the trap slot, and then there's the environmental campfires that spawn around the map. Now, most of you guys would know, I think the most common campfire that is used is the one next to Crackshot's house where all the bushes are, and there's a campfire in the middle. That's probably the one I use the most. So, I love the environmental campfires. They're amazing. But I think I love these ones even more because, like I said, they don't take up an inventory slot. You can hold just shields and then hold a campfire, and then you don't have to worry about holding whites. So, that just makes this thing really, really good. And yeah, I think that's gonna go honestly better than minis. I think the campfire is better than minis. So, oh nah, minis are still better. I think. All right, and last but certainly not least, we got ourselves the cardboard box. Now this thing was only in the season for a little bit at the start, but once again, it's actually useless. You won't see anyone picking this up. So yeah, I think actually useless. Alright, that is my tier list. Let me know what you guys think down below. Let me know if I've missed anything. I'm not sure that I have. I don't think I've missed anything. But if I have, let me know down below in the comments. And if you want to see me rank all of Fortnite seasons, or if you want to see me rank the weapons from OG Fortnite, let me know down below in the comments. I can do that for a video for you before we get Chapter 6 and OG Fortnite coming back, which, if you guys haven't heard, and if you haven't heard, are you living under a rock? Like what? Double Pump's coming back, OG movement, all that type of good stuff. So, and if you guys haven't hit the subscribe button with post notifications on, make sure you do that because I'm going to be uploading a bunch of content when Chapter 6 comes out, especially when that OG Fortnite comes back because I'm pumped up as hell for that. And if you guys want to see more tier list videos, let me know down below in the comments. And I don't want to see any comments of people saying, never let bro raid again. Like, I think I've done a pretty good job with this tier list, but let me know your thoughts down below. And with that being said, I'll see you in Chapter 6. Peace.